babies?
There was like 3 babies, I remember. But somebody just hit me on like Twitter with a picture of the kid who played my daughter, and
she's now 72
like
years old.
Full on like a woman.
You're like,
in high
that
school.
would be weird to carry her in a baby Bjorn right now.
Yeah,
inappropriate.
It was
heady,
a long time
right?
ago. It was a long time ago, that show.
But then you went to Unscripted.
Exactly. It was a concept of George Clooney's, Grant Heslop's, and Steven Soderbergh's.
All hacks.
Yeah.
Every one of them.
Worst.
I'm so sad that none of them were able to find traction in their careers.
And they wanted to make a show about actors in Hollywood. And I met with George and Grant, and it was just a meeting. And I already had One Tree Hill and Perfect Score.
Right.
So they wanted an actor who was like kind of working.
Right.
But wasn't a name. And they kind of wanted to like.
But beginning to break through.
Yeah, starting to break. And the show was about an acting class centered around a teacher played by Frank Langella. And what they would do is I played myself, Bryan Greenberg, but I was going to this acting class by Goddard.
Who was not a real guy.
Who's not a real guy.
Right.
Frank Langella, who's playing Goddard. And they would book me on real shows. Like, they would book me as an extra on ER.
Right.
And they worked out a deal where we could shoot behind the scenes on ER.
Right.
Or they would book me on like the Bonnie Hunt show, and I would actually get paid and have a line or two on the Bonnie Hunt show, but I was only on it to shoot unscripted. Right. And then, so it's just about following my career. I was the actor who was sort of falling upwards.
So I remember watching it. I don't have it. It's not
hard to
imprinted
find
deeply.
now. Yeah.
I know, but I just thought, first of all, what an amazing concept, and it was so ahead of its time in that way. How much of it was you, though? When you look back at Bryan Greenberg, the actor, Bryan Greenberg, the character, on this improvised sort of...
I would say 50-50. I knew that I was supposed to play this naive, and I knew that like in every scene, my mission was to kind of like make it awkward and embarrass myself. I'll give you 2 examples of how we did it. So One Tree Hill, they granted us permission to shoot on One Tree Hill. They're like, we'd love to incorporate Bryan on One Tree Hill. So they made this whole storyline of like, I was supposed to be a regular. I was about to be a regular on One Tree Hill. I've been waiting to be a regular, but for some reason I did a pilot that I thought wasn't going to go, and then they decided it was going to go, and so my deal couldn't work out, right? So that was like this weird behind-the-scenes storyline. That was a
fabricated
but that was all fabricated,
right?
right? And then the only way I got Prime was in the middle of shooting Unscripted. I booked Prime, and Universal wouldn't let me do it because HBO wouldn't let me do it because they wanted to shoot 5 more episodes. So Clooney, the amazing guy that he is, worked out a deal with Universal and says, you can have Bryan if we can shoot Unscripted on the set of Prime.
So they incorporated you getting that movie.
So they
that is so
they worked
crazy.
that in to make it work. And so, for example, there was a scene in Unscripted where I'm partying with all my friends in New York, and then they change my call time, and I have to go into the set of Prime early.
Right.
And I show up drunk to set. And so I wasn't really drunk.
Right.
But it was like all a setup.
That's awesome.
So I'm shooting a scene with Meryl, and I'm shooting a scene with Uma, and then they yell cut, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, I'm so hungover.
Right.
And so I'd have 2 mics on. And so I'm like, literally,
my God.
This was such a weird time in my career. Like, all these things were happening, and they were all happening literally at once. And I was playing a version of myself.
It's almost too much.
It was a lot of different levels that I had to kind of juggle. Plus, it's like, getting recognized for the first time. And I'm like, all this stuff was happening.
Did you like that?
Yeah, I didn't know how to deal with all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It was just a lot happening. And I think what happened, now that I look back on it 12, 13 years later, is that I got really scared. Like, I started thinking of myself as like, in terms of my legacy, and I can't do these kind of things because I don't want to be perceived that way. So stuff like that, I feel like I turned down a lot of really cool opportunities because it didn't fit.
You were worrying about the wrong thing.
Yeah, I was trying to like, quarterback the whole situation. When I think now that in retrospect, I look back and it's like, you just kind of have to go with what's available at the time and what's the best
and what
fit.
Material speaks to you.
Yeah, what speaks to you. I picked indies that I thought were amazing and that bombed, and I turned down huge studio things that I thought were like, whatever, that's corporate, that's stupid, and they're huge, like, classic films now. It's just
Transformers.
Like Titanic, whatever. I don't want to talk about it.
Whatever.
Star Wars.
First of all, It was generous of you, and it helped Leo out.
But I definitely learned some lessons. I'm really happy with my life and my career and all that stuff.
Look where you ended up with Meryl Streep. Like, you worked with a lot of heavy hitters, and Frank Langella, both who in different ways are incredibly personable, charming, and intimidating.
Yeah, they can be if you let yourself get intimidated.
Right, so
you have to think of actors as your peers. You cannot think of them as like these gods or.
I mean, you're slightly intimidated right now with me,
but
but
now
me aside,
this is different.
Yes,
but I think you have to have a belief in yourself to even pursue this. This business, and there's a difference between being confident and cocky, and. I don't think you can be cocky because you're just an asshole, but and you're just an actor at the end of the day. You're not like saving lives, but you have to have some sort of self-confidence to even get in the room. Like, to me, I would just tell myself, like, yeah, I deserve to be here. You know, this is.
Now, where does that come from? Are you born with that?
I think was it just naive? I
feel like a lot of actors, when they talk about acting, they talk about it almost like they do when they're talking about sports. Were you an athlete?
No.
Okay.
No, this is what I've always wanted to do. And
when you played basketball on One Tree Hill, was that you?
I've become to real like
that's
on
almost
a real team. You're like, I played ball. My wife always makes fun. She's like, One Tree Hill.
Do you know the town? It's called One Tree Hill. They have one basketball court, and you have to be like stepbrothers with estranged parents in order to be on the team.
No, I was always athletic and played sports, but I was not good at everything. But I am good at acting.
What are you not good at?
Pretty much anything else.
What would your wife say? Maybe you're
I'm not good at math,
good
doing any sort of taxes. I don't think I'm the greatest businessman.
Isn't it fun though that if you got hired to play any of those things, you'd be like, "I'm sorry, I'm
a pro.
Do you need your taxes done? It's April 15th. That's my deadline."
Yeah,
you could totally do it. When you actually auditioned for Prime, did you audition with Meryl Streep or Uma Thurman?
Originally, it was supposed to be Sandra Bullock, and I tested with her. I auditioned for that like 7 times. When I look back on it, I'm like, I can't believe I got that.
Well, that you were able to sustain it 7 times.
I'm not very good at auditioning. And
why you keep saying that? So tell me what happens to you.
I don't know. I feel like when people, I'm good at auditioning when I feel like people know my work and they want to see me for the role. And it's like, I can feel that energy and there's like a respect there. Not that like anybody owes me anything, but just that like, oh yeah, we see you for this role. I'm bad when it's just like a cold room and I need a little more time with a role. I don't know what it is. It's just, that's the thing I've been working on the most.
I mean, so much of what you're just describing is absolutely true.
Yeah.
In the face of a cold room, nothing is harder than dancing for an unreceptive audience, right?
Yeah. I'm a reactor, but we all have to deal with it, and it's never going away.
Do you still audition?
Constantly. I mean, I still audition, and I'm still up for things, and I put myself on tape. It's a hard thing.
Right.
It's a hard thing to do. And
do you have a memory of ever being in an audition where you were aware while you were auditioning that it was going terribly?
That happens. Because then it's like you start to leave your body and you start to watch yourself, which
terrible.
Is the worst.
It's not
like a good audition. You don't even know what happened. You're like, that was, I don't know. I don't know. I was so present that I wasn't watching it, so I can't tell you. Like, your managers or agents like, so how did it go? And usually on the good ones, I'm like, I don't know.
I don't know. That's a good sign.
I think it went well. I mean, I only know because of their response that they liked it, but I don't really know.
What about music? Where did that come in? You have 3 suddenly I'm like, Bryan Greenberg's a full-fledged musician.
Yeah, I've
3 albums.
Back on it a little bit just because I'm not cut out for the road, and I don't like touring that much, and I sort of just like being in the studio and putting music out that way, and I don't really need to do the live thing as much. It's just a hard road. It's a hard life, and I was like, the end game for this, like, I'm an actor. That's what I always want to do. And for music, I love doing it. It's a part of me. It's always going to be a part of me, but to pursue it as like a career became detrimental to my acting because I couldn't.
You were so drunk all the time. You
never
knew where you were.
When you're on the road, like I'm a singer, so I couldn't really party or anything.
Just tea and honey for me, thanks. What are you having?
My band was having a great time.
Right.
Like I could get a movie next week that I don't even know about today.
That's
right. Like there could be something shooting next week. But with a tour, you have to set that up months in advance. And the schedules don't really work out.
No, not conducive.
Yeah, and I've had to cancel tour dates and, club owners wanting to sue me.
That's
It's just
awful.
hard because I'm not that far along in my music career where I can just say, oh yeah, sorry acting.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do this pilot.
Yeah,
or I'm not going to do this
yeah.
movie. Because it's like the finances don't even add up. So now I just you know what? I'll play shows here and there. I'll always make music. And you know what? I think my music's better for it because there's not this pressure of having to oh, I got to tour and be have a hit, a radio hit. It's just I just make music because I love it. And I think the people who like my music, they can feel that. They can sense that. You know?
So you're married to JB Chung.
Yeah.
A lot of people know her from the Hangover movies.
Right.
But Sucker Punch.
Yep.
How did you guys meet?
We met at a party in Hollywood, and we worked with some of the same producers on different projects, and we sort of had that in common. We were at the same agency, and we just kind of met, and then we just kind of connected years later. It was a lot of on and off, timing wasn't right type things, but yeah, and I'd say about 5 years ago, we really found each other, and the timing was right.
Was your wedding a mix of rituals from both families' customs, or did you get married under a chuppah?
Yeah,
Who married you guys?
My buddy Frank.
Frank, did he sign up at the back of Rolling Stone magazine with Universal Church or anything? Yes, I've done that.
Yeah,
I think it counts, right?
It was pretty casual. We didn't go. She's not converting or anything, so we just made it I had some Jewish traditions in there, but it wasn't overtly
Did you break
religious.
a glass?
Yeah, I broke a glass, had a little prayer, married on a chuppah, I was wearing a kippah, but it wasn't over, and we signed a ketubah, but it wasn't, that's about it. They did throw us up in the chairs, though.
The best.
Yeah.
The best. Now, were you legally married if your friend Frank marries you, or did you also...
He got ordained by the Universal Church, but that's not a huge accomplishment. I think anybody can do that, online.
Don't diminish Frank.
I mean, hey, Frank did a great job.
Really, it meant a lot to him. So, what's next?
We got a couple movies in the can. Oh, I got a movie that's coming out called Flock of Dudes. A bunch of great comedians. To go full-on comedy was really fun and challenging. Chris D'Elia, Hannah Simone, Skylar Astin, Brett Gilman, Mark Maron, Ray Liotta, Jamie Chung's in it. Jeff Ross, it's Hannibal Buress,
amazing.
Eric Andre.
Now, every once in a while, there's a rumor that How to Make It in America can come back. Is that something that might really happen?
It might. I mean, I don't know.
Do they circle back to you sometimes?
It's not going to be because of me, saying it on your podcast.
Are you serious? Do you know how many people? I have one person in Japan who listens to this podcast. I just saw it today, and they're very powerful.
Well, maybe they can. I don't know. I feel like I'm not going to be the one to bring it back. I'm not trying.
Well, I'm not putting pressure on you.
Trying to bring his old canceled show back. I love that show.
What about you in a walker? I don't think there's a possibility.
I love that show, and fans really love it. And every day, people still come up to me and tell me how much they love it. 10 times a day in New York.
You're pretty involved in social media. How did you?
My music manager, he's like, look. Because I was of the old school, I'm an actor. I need to keep my, I need to keep a mystery
something
going.
For myself. That's private.
Yeah, and he's like, but musicians, you need to be a part of their lives. That's how it works, So he kind of got me on Twitter, and then that sort of I got it. I was like, okay, this is really cool. This is actually, I sort of fell in love with social media because I'm still a private person in my mind. You're not going to know who I really am by my social media. It doesn't mean I can't play a wide variety of characters still, or you're not going to know about my intimate, personal things that are happening in my life.
That's what this show is for.
Yeah, I just think it's a great way to connect, and I also like to see what's going on in the world. That's where people are.
All right. Well, Bryan Greenberg, thank you for coming on. I'm so glad I didn't make you audition.
Wouldn't have gotten
You would not have gotten to play Bryan Greenberg. All right. Well, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Clouds can make the wind blow, bugs can make the grass grow. So, there you go. These are little known facts that now you know.
Hey, I'm Alana Levine. Thank you for listening. Please don't forget to rate and review our show in the iTunes show page. Little Known Facts is recorded at the Hangar Studios in New York City.